webinarium przyszłość zarządzania danymi. To webinarium poprowadzimy razem z naszym partnerem wdrożeniowym, firmą SAP. Tematyką dzisiejszego webinarium jest zarządzanie danymi podstawowymi. Naszą intencją jest podkreślenie w tym wystąpieniu kilku kwestii. Po pierwsze, to, że opracowanie na złych danych rozumianych jako błędne, niekompletne i zduplikowane zazwyczaj niesie ze sobą negatywne skutki dla biznesu. Skutki te mogą być szczególnie dotkliwe, gdy podejmowane decyzje w oparciu o takie dane wpływają na rozwój firm. Po drugie, czym jest sama dyscyplina do zarządzania danymi podstawowymi, czyli Master Data Management, oraz jak ta dyscyplina może pomóc Państwa biznesie. Trzecią kwestią, którą chcemy, abyście Państwo zapamiętali, jest to, jak zarządzić przy zastosowaniu rozwiązania SAP Master Data Governance wyzwaniami, które często spotykamy w obszarze zarządzania danymi w organizacji. Wśród takich wyzwań, które my też często widzimy i o których warto pamiętać, to jest niespójność danych, która występuje wtedy, kiedy brakuje integracji danych, nadrzędnego podejścia do zarządzania nimi. Skutkuje tym, że mamy wiele wersji danych w różnych funkcjach, lokalizacjach i systemach organizacji. Kolejną kwestią jest brak ładów danych, który powstaje, gdy brakuje w organizacji orkiestracji procesów, polityk oraz wspólnej autoryzacji danych. Przekłada się to zazwyczaj na integralność danych, bezpieczeństwo i dokładność. Innym takim wyzwaniem jest duplikacja danych występująca wtedy, gdy dane przetwarzane są indywidualnie, niezależnie przez wiele różnych systemów źródłowych. Aby na początku przybliżyć temat samego zagadnienia zarządzania danymi podstawowymi, czyli Master Data Management, taka krótka definicja. Możemy powiedzieć, że zarządzanie danymi podstawowymi jest dyscypliną wspieraną przez technologie, narzędzia i procesy. Ich zadaniem jest koordynacja danych podstawowych w organizacji. Rolą nadrzędną tej dyscypliny jest utrzymanie danych podstawowych w dobrej jakości i spójności. My w tym wystąpieniu skupiamy się na platformie SAP Data Governance, która oferuje pełną funkcjonalność niezbędną do tego, aby być centralnym miejscem definiującym, utrzymującym ład w danych i odpowiada ona za utrzymanie wszystkich krytycznych danych biznesowych w jednym systemie i propagowanie ich tam, gdzie są potrzebne. Sama platforma adresuje również wyzwania, o których wspomniałem wcześniej. Robi to m.in. dzięki temu, że nadzoruje tworzenie takich danych podstawowych wraz z realizowanymi na nich zmianami, weryfikuje potencjalne duplikaty, monitoruje jakość tych danych, konsoliduje dane oraz zapewnia dystrybucję danych podstawowych pomiędzy systemami wewnętrznymi i zewnętrznymi. I tu warto również pamiętać, że mogą być to zarówno systemy firmy SAP, jak i firm trzecich. You can switch to next slide. Jak już wspomniałem, dzisiejsze wystąpienie prowadzimy razem z firmą S&V, którą tu skutecznie współpracujemy na rynkach zagranicznych i z którą również rozpoczęliśmy współpracę na rynku polskim. Podczas wystąpienia przekażemy Państwu w pigułce zarówno wiedzę produktową, jak i doświadczenie wdrożeniowe oraz najlepsze praktyki wynikające ze zrealizowanych projektów. We wszystkich tych projektach, które będą prezentowane, zastosowano również rozwiązanie SAP Master Data Governance. Wystąpienie jest podzielone na dwa bloki. Ten pierwszy blok to będzie prezentacja o ładzie w danych, zarządzaniu danymi podstawowymi oraz platformie SAP Master Data Governance. Tą część poprowadzą nasi koledzy Candy oraz Anna. Drugi blok to demo pracy z systemem i w tym bloku pokażemy jeden z przypadków użycia związany z pracą z danymi podstawowymi na platformie SAP Master Data Governance. W tej części będziecie Państwo mogli zobaczyć również rozszerzenia autorskie przygotowane przez firmę SAP w platformie MDG. Takie rozszerzenia to m.in. inteligentny generator opisów oraz przeglądarka obrazów. Ten blok poprowadzi nasz kolega Kajen. Z tych samych kwestii organizacyjnych prosimy o zadawanie pytań w dowolnym momencie, wpisując je w oknie narzędzia Zoom w tej opcji Question and Answers. Pytania mogą być zadawane w języku polskim, a my będziemy je tłumaczyli na język angielski, tak żebyśmy oczywiście mogli na nie jak najlepiej odpowiedzieć. Po zakończeniu z każdego z tych bloków będziemy na te pytania odpowiadali, także są takie przewidziane 2 sesje odpowiedzi na pytania. Next slide, please. Jeszcze tak krótko o naszej firmie, ponieważ nie wszyscy Państwa mogą nas znać. Grupa, do której należymy, to grupa MIDIS. Istnieje ona od 45 lat, zatrudnia ponad 5000 pracowników w 30 krajach na 3 kontynentach. Sama marka MDS Advanced Program Tech została utworzona przez tę grupę dla spółek, które wcześniej skoncentrowane były na rozwiązaniach Sybase. Stąd też możemy powiedzieć, że działamy w zasadzie od 26 lat na rynkach, a to, co się w tym czasie zmieniło, to tak naprawdę głównie nazwa spółki oraz poszerzenie obszarów kompetencyjnych. Zespół, który skupia markę MDS Advanced Program Tech, to jest ponad 120 osób, które pracują na 3 kontynentach, operują na rynkach takich jak Europa Środkowa i Centralna, Bliski Wschód. Od 10 lat jesteśmy również partnerem firmy SAP i nasze kompetencje ukierunkowane są głównie na portfel rozwiązań, platform związanych z zarządzaniem danymi i informacją. Stąd też tematyka dzisiejszego wystąpienia, która się w to wpasowuje. Dzięki takiemu też rozproszeniu geograficznemu działamy w modelu, który pozwala nam, naszym konsultantom głównie, zdobywać doświadczenie zarówno na rynkach polskich i globalnych. Next slide. Jeszcze spojrzenie takie krótkie na klientów, z którymi współpracujemy, w zasadzie z wieloma z nich od początku naszej działalności. Naprawdę w ciągu tych ponad 20 lat funkcjonowania nawiązaliśmy współpracę z sporą grupą klientów, jak to widać. Prezentujemy tylko wybrane marki. No i dla tych klientów realizujemy oczywiście w dużej mierze usługi oraz projekty. To w zasadzie ten moment, kiedy przekażę głos naszym kolegom. Next slide.
Thank you for that, Jacek. Hi everyone. I am Hemdi, the moderator for this webinar. If you're trying to improve master data governance capabilities in your organization, then this webinar is for you. We are going to be walking you through the impact of data quality and data governance on your organization's performance capabilities. And this will be accompanied by success stories about global organizations who struggle to see the impact of data management. We will also be talking you through how we at SNV were able to assist them in utilizing their data as an asset. To avoid background noise, your lines have been muted, but do not worry. We will allocate 15 minutes for your questions after the presentation is done. Let's start by introducing the presenter. The presenter from SNV will be Ankit, who will also be walking us through the presentation. For the SAP demo, we have KN, who will be conducting the same for you. So without further ado, let's get into the thick of things. So Ankit, who is SNV?
So SNV is a company with over 12 plus years in the industry right now. And we have worked on projects with industry leading OEMs such as PwC, IBM, Accenture, to name a few. We have offices in India. We have 3 of them, one in Hyderabad, Coimbatore, and in Bangalore. 3 in UAE, 2 in Sharjah, and 1 in Dubai. 1 liaison office in South Africa, and we're currently, we'll be opening up an office in London pretty soon. When we talk about our team competency, we don't just mean how good they gel with business. We believe data scientists aren't born, they're created. So our team has been with us for a long time, and they have been trained on data-related subjects with thousands of man-hours on the job. And the numerous engagements we have had with our clients have evolved into treasured relationships that have endured to this day, and will continue to do so for a very long time. We can discuss the nitty-gritties of specific projects further down in this presentation.
Excellent. So Ankit, what is data governance, and what would be some of the drivers for data governance in the market today?
So data governance is the orchestration of people, process, and technology. Really, data governance is focused around who actually manages the data, who focus on the different people in your organization. It focuses on what. So what are you trying to govern? What objects, what data fields, what technology has to be in place in order to govern? There's the aspect of when. So are you proactive or reactive when you're doing it? What's the process when doing it? So your company runs on decisions, and your decisions and the decisions you make are based on data. For example, your company's master data about customers, suppliers, products, technical assets, and financials. Now, according to a recent study from Gartner, it showed that up to $15 million being spent in data governance, data quality, and data management related activities alone. This is because data typically gets trapped in silos. Let's take an example of sales, marketing, and services, for example. Now, various departments collect and manage their own data. This isolated data evolves independently. It mutates. It conflicts with data in different silos. So it is unsynchronized, it becomes inaccessible, inaccurate, and all this can eventually lead to it being harmful as well. So every time your company takes a step forward, for example, when it comes to a new strategic initiative, such as a new product release or a merger, a acquisition, a wave of new information rushes into these existing silos, corrupting your pool of master data. So this leads to poor data quality, which causes the following listed in front of you, which is inaccurate reporting, conflicting information, bad decisions, inefficiencies, inabilities to recognize and adapt to change. So improving your data quality increases your productivity, improves your decision makings, which means with better data quality, you're delivering a better product, which in turn increases your bottom line, which increases your customer retention. And in addition to that, you're delivering on strategic decisions with strategic initiatives through good data quality.
Thanks for that, Ankit. So my next question would be, what would be some of the interdependencies of data quality and data governance? And what would be some of the challenges that most organizations face nowadays?
So the business impacts of poor data quality is very serious. So to list a few, we have customer service suffers, sales and marketing miss their targets, purchasing spends too much, new product releases fail, supply chains break down, financial reports trigger audits, time, resources, and opportunities are lost, and too much operational redundancy and waste. So all of these factors affect your top and bottom line. Now, this is where master data governance comes into the mix. Now, master data governs data across your entire business and operationalizes the data specific for business benefits through syndications. Now, it lays the informational foundation for effectively handling your organization's data and business operations. Master data becomes your central repository for one version of the truth. So basically, it verifies data, protects data, and ensures that new or changed data gets to the right people. What this means is that by having a data governance plan in place, keeps the data clean over a period of time. And the framework is what drives your data quality over a period of time. So get clean and stay clean is very important, and data governance is an absolute key component of that.
Get clean and stay clean. That's a nice motto. So what are some of the key drivers of master data governance?
So the most common drivers for initiating a master data governance program are, firstly, meeting organizational data requirements. So multiple areas within your organization need access to the same data sets with the confidence that the data sets are complete, current, and consistent. Next would be managing data quality. So data inconsistencies and quality issues and gaps lead to incorrect decisions or lost opportunities. Now, master data governance reduces these risks by enabling a consistent representation of the entities critical to that organization. Following that, we have managing the cost of data integration, which is the cost of integrating new data sources into an already complex environment are higher in the absence of master data, which reduces variations in how critical entities are defined and identified. And finally, there's a reducing risk aspect, in which master data can enable simplification of data sharing architecture to reduce costs and risks associated with a complex environment.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Ankit. This brings me to my next question. What would be some of the key concepts an organization should consider if they are trying to implement master data governance?
So some of the key concepts you want to pay attention to is to define the data and governance strategy to align with your organization's overall corporate strategy. This is one of the key components you have to pay attention to. In addition to that, a lot of organizations do not pay attention to change management. Now, change management is a key component of your data governance framework because there is a cultural shift going through your organization, which means you have to define your change management strategy and communication strategy ahead of time and drive it along with your data governance framework.
Right, right. That is quite insightful. So which brings me to my next question. So how does master data governance tools help organizations manage the data?
Right, so far we've been talking about the process. Now the tools aspect of data governance framework provides the organization with a central point of entry for your data. It's the single source of truth that helps make sure that the data is managed across the landscape within your organization. Additionally, from a data point of view, you've got security. You have your built-in workflows. It helps having an automated process for getting the data in the system. A lot of the times, organizations, when they're thinking of implementing governance in the beginning, they're designing the process where the request goes from the requester to the approver to someone actually typing it in the system. Now, technology would be leveraged over here to automate all of that, where the requester can go into the tool, create a request, send it to the approver can review exactly what's there, they can approve it again in the tool, and the positive is, once it's approved, the data actually goes straight into your production environment, as opposed to someone then having to go in again, having to key it in another time. So it provides efficiency, reduces data errors, and also provides some benefits from a security standpoint as well.
Excellent. So what is the key takeaway around the link between governance and quality?
So from a governance standpoint, it's important to know that this truly is a business-led initiative. It's a business transformation for an organization, not an IT project. And from a quality perspective, it's always best to start early. Do not wait for a big project initiative to start working on your data quality.
Interesting. So what is master data governance and how does it differ from master data management?
So master data management defines the discipline and approach of managing master data in a company. And master data governance is the name of SAP's product, SAP Master Data Governance on SAP S4HANA. And SAP's MDG has key functionalities in workflow-based master data creation, master data distribution to SAP and non-SAP systems, mass change, duplicate checks, data quality monitoring and rule mining, workflow monitoring, as well as master data consolidation. Mm-hmm. Additionally, SAP MDG is technically based on a SAP S4 system, S4HANA system, or alternately on a SAP ERP system, which is SAP ECC. That means many standard functionalities of SAP S4HANA or SAP ERP system is being used by SAP MDG. A few examples would be user and authorization concepts, operational aspects like high availability and security, customizing. So master data functionalities can be activated and configured into these systems.
Thanks for answering that question, Ankit. So what master data objects are supported by SAP MDG out of the box?
So SAP MDG supports the following objects out of the box, as you can see on your screen. And these are, for example, staging tables, user interfaces, validations, and distribution capabilities are available for all of them. Firstly, we have the financials master, which covers your GIL accounts, chart of accounts, cost elements, cost element groups and hierarchy, just to name a few. The next is your material master, which would include information such as your classifications, documents, plant, sales details, storage locations. Following that, we have customer and supplier data, which would have your business partner with relationship roles, bank details, identifications. Your customer data would have general data such as sales areas and company codes. The supplier information or the supplier master would have general data such as purchasing org or the company code. And finally, we also have FIAA, which is a co-innovation between SAP and SNV, used for managing financial fixed asset master data. Now, all standard content can be adapted to a customer-specific need, and customer-specific fields and segments can also be added to these standard data modules.
Thanks for that, Ankit. This brings me to my next question. Could you give us a working example of master data governance being worked on in real life?
Sure thing, sure thing. So an example of MDG would be MDG MM, which is Material Master. So master data governance for material data offers a central hub-based maintenance for material master data and simplifies the way companies that are present in this webinar create, maintain, validate, approve, replicate, and adapt this data. So the features of SAP MDG for Material Master are the following. Firstly, we have centralized and integrated governance, which allows the organization to increase efficiency and quality with a single version of Material Master data. Following that, we have process and data standardization, which coordinates and controls all activities for managing material master data. Next, we have data creation, change, and approval, which provides functionality for change requests with built-in approval process. And following that, we have data staging and duplicate checks, which eliminates the creation of duplicate master data records with automated checking functionality. We also have more empowered business users and increased productivity by having an intuitive interface, which makes it simple for users to access the information when they need it. And finally, there's the feature of data replication and extensibility, in which you can replicate data easily to your heterogeneous landscape. Now, an example of where this was leveraged would be in SWCC. The solution that was implemented was SAP MDG Material Master and SAP MDG EAM in a core deployment model, where we did a data transformation exercise for over 100 objects covering all S4 modules. And by utilizing our services, SWCC saw benefits in the form of saved costs and time, improved productivity, and informed decision-making.
Excellent. So what is SNV's approach to executing a master data governance program?
So our approach is the following. So master data projects usually have two phases. Phase one is make it clean, and phase two is keep it clean. Now, SAP MDG tool is the tool of choice for phase two, which is keep it clean. It ensures that only master data of adequate data quality reaches the system landscape. An important prerequisite is that SAP MDG starts with correct and harmonized master data. This cleansed and harmonized master data bases will be created in phase one, which is make it clean. That means all existing master data stored in client system needs to be checked, corrected, enriched, harmonized, and deduplicated. If this has been done, a golden record will be created. For example, key and value mappings will be created. Now, these golden records will then be uploaded to SAP MDG as an initial data load, and all key and value mappings are stored in SAP MDG mapping tables. Now, in general, there's no standard approach for phase one, which is make it clean, as each customer's situation, customer requirements, and system landscapes are different. In simple cases, manual cleansing and migration into SAP MDG is feasible. In very complex cases, such as many SAP and non-SAP systems, millions of master data records with poor data quality, a dedicated migration project is required, supported by specialized tools like SNV's Data Migration Workbench and SAP's Data Services to create a solid master data basis for phase two. Now, recently, we did some work with SIPCM, and SIPCM merged with Sahara, and hence their master data needed to be harmonized and consolidated. The data between Sahara and SIPCM was desperate and in dire need of a fresh data strategy methodology to be implemented. Now, SMV was responsible for the cleansing and harmonization of material and vendor data. And once the data was cleansed and harmonized, SAP MDG was implemented to ensure a robust data governance and stewardship methodology was put in place.
Thanks for that, Ankit. This brings me to my next question. How does SAP MDG provide capabilities for, let's say, the financials of an organization?
Right. So in terms of the financials, SAP MDG for Financials provides a central steering and control mechanism to govern the maintenance of financial master data independently of local or centralized execution. Now, the current challenges are listed on your left over here, which are firstly, lack of data standards, the manual data management process, There's increasingly complex regulations. There's a lack of change transparency. And finally, inability to manage time-dependent data provisioning. And all of these challenges have an impact on your organization in the form of its effect on your operational efficiency, your ability to meet regulatory compliance, as well as on your planning and analysis.
Great, thanks for that, Ankit. So my next question would be, you mentioned earlier about SNV co-innovation with SAP. Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Sure thing. So SNV's FIAA for SAP MDG is a solution for managing financial fixed asset master data. It's a comprehensive platform for managing assets from the point of procurement through its life cycle and eventually retirement. Now, the maintenance of assets is critical for various industries and ensures compliance, including proper reporting. Its key features are listed in front of you. Firstly, we have centralized asset creation. Now, the application allows you to, or centralized asset creation allows the process to be centralized and hence increases efficiency and accuracy for financial fixed asset master data. Next, we have the creation of similar assets, which, as the name suggests, allows you to create similar assets. There's the context-based duplicate search. Now, the columns within your system could be chosen on which duplicate criteria needs to be determined. Following that, we have net book value monitoring, in which FIA allows you to govern the net book value of the firm indirectly. Next, we have financial fixed asset structuring with international standards, which ensures the asset creation to adhere to any asset structuring standard worldwide. And finally, we have analytics and forecasting, which gives a centralized reporting structure to leadership, which increases accuracy in decision-making.
Excellent. So apart from the standard features of SAP MDG, what would be some other features that SNV can implement?
Excellent. So the SNV's capability to leverage and roll out are the following. So we have SAP MDG spell checker, which the spell suggestion feature helps the end user with auto spell suggestions. Following that, we have SAP MDG Aura, which is advanced UI runtime adaptation. Next, we have capabilities in SAP MDG email editor, which allows you to configure email subject and the body. And finally, we have SAP Chatbot, which is an AI bot building platform.
Thanks for that, Ankit. So far, we have covered a lot of the processes and the features, but how would SAP MDG be actually deployed in an organization? Could you shed some light on that?
Sure, that's a great question. So SAP MDG can be deployed in two ways, as core deployment and as hub deployment. Now, in core deployment, SAP MDG functionality is activated in a system that is also being used for transactional purposes, such as order to cash or procure to pay. In hub deployment, SAP MDG is deployed on a dedicated SAP S/4HANA instance, which only runs master data processes. SAP MDG Hub will distribute master data to all other systems in the system landscape. This means all master data objects are stored several times. SAP MDG stores the golden record, and the client system stores a local instance of this golden record to run processes locally.
Great. So is the workflow capability of SAP MDG fixed or is it customizable? Additionally, where does the workflow data persist?
So the workflow capability is customizable, and workflows are defined in advance by administrators in implementing the project. So usually a maintenance workflow is a result of a longer discussion with all stakeholders. Now, changes to the workflow definitions need to be implemented in a development system and tested before it can be used in production. Nevertheless, SAP MDG workflows can be set up in a very flexible way based on rules. And these rules allow workflow processes based on, for example, the workflow priority, the requesting user group, the type of master data objects.
Excellent. So what about external systems? Can we integrate external systems into the workflow as well? Yes.
So external services can be integrated flexibly to the workflows, and duplicate checks are an integral part of SAP MDG, and there are also standard integrations for address and compliance checks. Now, as I mentioned before, SAP MDG uses key and value mapping functionality to overcome such differences with external systems. And it stores all the mappings for each receiving system. So if a golden record has been changed in SAP MDG, the distribution process will execute the mappings for each receiving system. Therefore, the client system receives a master data update containing only field values that can be processed by the client system. And this was evident in the work we conducted with Folat. Now, Folat is Bahrain's largest steel producing company. And they wanted to standardize their master data for 2 of their companies spread across 2 geographies. The challenge was that multiple internal SAP systems were used for material creation, and no common integration point was put in place to check for duplicates. Now, our solution was the installation of SAP MDG for materials, and this was in combination with SNV's own taxonomy. And the benefit of the exercise was that Folat saw better governance, improved operational efficiency, cost savings as the end user knows the duplicate materials at the time of creation.
Excellent. So what is new in the latest release of SAP MDG?
So the latest release includes what's in front of you right now. First, we have the consolidation. So a consolidation option for master data based on a flexible process that is entirely configurable. Following that, it has central governance, which is a domain-specific enterprise master data management to centrally govern creation, change, and distribution of master data across your complete enterprise landscape. Next, we have the mass processing, which is a highly effective mass change processing, enabling master data stewards to perform bulk changes in business partner, customer, supplier, and product data. And finally, we have data quality management. Now, this is a central place for master data quality rules.
Excellent. So what would be the key features of master data quality management that will work in tandem with SAP master data governance?
Right. So the key features are listed right over here. The first, we have the rule management, which is a rule repository for MDG, which allows you to manage your rules for master data quality in one single place. Next, we have the rule mining, in which besides entering already known data quality rules, data and business specialists can use mining runs to apply machine learning on existing master data. This will analyze how various aspects of the master data relate to each other and propose rules. Following that, we have your data quality evaluation, which applies all rules to the active data in the system. And the results of these evaluations are stored for later analysis. And finally, we have the data quality remediation, in which it deals with the data quality issues and how to fix them once the data quality evaluation has detected it. Now, all of these features present you with the following benefits. Firstly, a central repository for data quality rules. There's the reusability of rule definition and implementation for the purpose of data quality evaluation. Easy configuration between SAP master data governance and other systems. There's all data quality capabilities are accessible via SAP Fiery Launchpad, making them available to all stakeholders in your organizations. And we have an insight to action from where you can analyze data quality findings to actually correct detected errors.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Ankit. So as my last question, what would be the average duration for a SAP MDG implementation, and what would go into it?
So the typical amount of time we need to execute a full-blown SAP master data governance implementation would be 6 months. We can deliver 1, 2, 3, and 4, as you can see on your left over here, within 4 months, and the rest can be completed in 2 months based on stakeholder involvement and agreements with organizations.
Great. Thanks for that, Ankit. That brings us to the end of the presentation, ladies and gentlemen. We will be giving you 15 minutes to have any questions, and we can have it answered by the SNV team, POC Avinash. Please use the Q&A box on your chats to post any questions. Any questions? Right. So if we don't have any questions, so yes, Tomas. Tomas has a question. Would this presentation be sent to him after the webinar? Yes, Tomas, we will send it to you after. Any other questions related to the presentation, which was just given by Ankit? Right. So we will then move on to the system demo, where we will hand over controls to KN, our SAP MDG functional consultant. Hello, KN. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Hemji. Hello, everyone. Hope and wish everybody is doing great today. Myself, KN, working as an SAP architect in the stream of master data governance, working for S&B organization.
So before we get into it, Ken, I see that someone has posted a question on the presentation. How SAP DS, MDG, and IS are connected? Would Avinash be answering this question from S&B?
Yeah, hi, Hemdi. Audible?
Yes, Avinash, you're audible.
Yeah, right. So to answer this question, I would probably go back to one of the comments that was very nice that you used during your presentation, which was get clean and stay clean, right? So when we talk about the technologies like SAP data services and information steward, this will be something that will be used to set your data clean before we push it to SAP MDG, before the SAP MDG is implemented. So I would take the best example of our current customer, that is SWCC, that you presented. So it's a real, real life example. So this particular customer is in the process of implementing SAP S4HANA, and they are on one of the legacy systems where they are using all their ERP functions. So they are in the process of migrating the current data via this particular project, that is while the SAP S4HANA is getting implemented, as well as they are implementing SAP master data governance so that the data can be governed post go live of SAP. So in the process of implementation, we are ensuring that all their current data is being extracted and transformed into SAP formats. For that particular process, we are using SAP data services completely end to end, which is defining all their business rules to clean that particular data, and information steward for providing the reports and the inputs related to data quality on that particular perspective. So that's how the SAP DS and IS is being utilized. And once this data is coming out clean, that is being reviewed by the customer and then pushed to SAP MDG so that it remains there. On the date of go live, they will start using SAP MDG. All those rules which are captured as part of the DS rule repository or the business rules or the transformation rules, they are also being incorporated as part of SAP MDG, and then based on that, it is also in use in future. So basically, all these three technologies connected together will help you in getting clean and then staying clean in future as well. So I hope that answers it pretty simply.
Thanks for that, Avinash. We have another question. What can be reused and where, and what would be some of the best practices here?
So the context seems a little unclear in that particular question. Is it related to SAP master data governance? What can be reused within the customer landscape? So let me try to answer that. SAP MDG being a new landscape that will be implemented for specific masters, that depending on the choice. So let's say, for example, you decide to implement it for SAP Material Master. So whatever rules and definitions and configurations that are being used or being configured as part of implementations, they pretty much stay as part of your system and then are reused again and again, no matter how many materials. So basically, this governance that we are implementing and the validations which are put in place, they are pretty much remain in use throughout the post implementation whenever you use it, right? And when you implement this particular landscape for SAP master data governance, you can definitely, it is scalable enough, you can extend it. Even initially, let's say you went for material master, and based on that, you can even scale it probably in due course of time using your other masters, like be it to your business partner or customer master or any other master. So these customizings are pretty much extendable and scalable towards that. Best practices will depend on, like, for example, SNV pretty much comes and adheres to the best practices. So I'll give us a classic example. So when we come to the material master, to define the catalog or to define the taxonomy for material master, we generally use the universal standard, that is UNSPSC. So SNV has already implemented tools or the practices which are aligned to these best practices. So the codes and the nouns and modifiers that we generally use to define the classification of a particular material master is aligned to the UNSPSC best practices. So SAP MDG being a best practice itself, it also adheres and aligns with multiple best practices that we bring from our domain, and which is an added advantage working with SNV that we have brought in picture. So likewise, there are best practices available in each and every domain along with material master, and they can be kind of adhered to depending on the customer requirements.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Avinash. If there are any follow-up questions on that, we will be sharing an email ID. You can drop those questions there. So we have one more question. If we implement MDG, do we need additional SAP skills to customize or manage it? Avinash?
So it's a very nice question. I would say that customers, it is assumed that when they are already using the platform like SAP ERP, they are already conversed with the skills which are required, like be it supply chain management or finance and controlling, depending on the masters that they are. So these skills and the even related configurations are pretty much reused and reutilized into SAP MDG. So all we need is the SAP MDG skills specifically to implement these, and no other additional skills as such as part of implementations apart from the MDG that is required. Post implementation, definitely there will be a skill required to maintain the SAP MDG as part of the operations. However, as it sits on and fits with pretty much existing skills and the domains like supply chain or finance or plant maintenance, it is pretty much not required any additional skill apart from SAP MDG.
Right. Thanks for that, Avinash. So we have Rafal who has raised his hand. Rafal, if you have a question, request you to please punch it into the box so we can have it answered. Any other questions? Right. So if there are no other questions from the audience, we can now move into the system demo. In the system demo, we will be talking about the material creation process, the workflow process, the material search, and mark processing. So, Ken, thanks for joining us today. My first question to you would be, could you explain to us the workflow concept in MDG?
Sure, I will. Workflow is nothing but a process. Every business orients to one or other process for their business data to be flown in their predefined process. So similarly, SAP MDG is also having a greater governance model for channelize your master data according to the business requirements. So let me show you a simple workflow process. If you can see my screen here, there is 3-step workflow, which is a simple one, where we have a requester, first level of approval and second level of approval, where a requester can submit his request of master data. It may be any functionality, it may be create, change, mark for deletion, or any mass transactions. He can request, and the data will be flowing to the reviewer. The first level of approver will verify the data, and he sees that, okay, this data is appropriate. Then he can provide his first level of approver such that that request move to the final approver, where the final approver can verify the data and provide his final approval such that the data go and sits in SAP system. So this is a sample workflow, just having a 3 simple steps. But according to the business requirement, we can always introduce multiple levels in it and it may be a sequential or parallel approval steps we can bring into. Did I answer your question, Mr. Hindi?
Excellent. Thanks, Ken, for that answer. Yes, it does. So which brings me to my next question. From the SAP ECC system, how would you navigate to SAP MDG?
Sure, I will be showing you. For that, first of all, you have to log into the SAP system. As a SAP consultant, generally the transaction code used for the navigation to NWBC client is NWBC. Click on enter after providing a transaction code. It will be routing out to a new browser where it will be showing you all the rows which are assigned for you. Now click on NWBC, which will be routing out to a home page. This is general process which is SAP consultants go with. But in a real time, when a business user wants to get into this particular page, he will be having a business client installed on his desktop. You can click on that icon, and when you click on that icon, system prompts you for getting into the logins. So give your login, then you will be coming into this particular page. So
excellent, excellent. So Ken, could you begin by showing us how to create a material?
Sure, definitely. SAP MDG as a processes on the functionality side, it can support many functionalities like search, create, change, mark for deletion, or any mass transactions. So going to our agenda, and for your question, I can go with the creation of material. Click on create material, which will be opening to a page for providing a change request type. Now you can give you a required change request, that is the MAP01.
So Ken, what is a change request in the context of MDG?
Yeah, it is an interesting question because every person who is working on MDG is supposed to know what is change request. The change request is nothing but a request which is oriented for that particular functionality. For example, if you take our example, now we are going with the material master data and the process is create. So there, for every process, there will be a change request will be assigned. This is meant for tracking all the activities which are performed on that particular master data for that request. If you just click on continue, I can show you where that block is. It will be opening to the new page where a form will be opened. So if you see 5595 is the change request ID, which will be meant for tracking all the activities which are performed on this particular request for this master data. Our master data is here material, and we are going with the material creation process.
Right, right, excellent. So Ken, there's an observation here. Almost all the attributes which I see on the screen are taken care of just like SAP ECC. Am I correct?
Absolutely correct. Because SAP MDG is a SAP system, it takes care of all the master data relevant screens and attributes from the SAP. So in our context here, it is material master. So every master data related attributes and fields are taken care. The only difference between these two is in SAP screens, it is a tabular form. Here it is a sequential form, but it is very much flexible that it can be adjustable in a tabular form, or you can adjust the sequence, what is there on the screen side, you can adjust your sequence also. This is, we can achieve this particular thing by floor plan manager concept. Moving further on this master data creation, let me give some of the data which is required for creation of a master data here. The primary thing is basic data, which is the primary key data, which is represent the master data which has to be created in the backend system. As a process, SAP standalone system give a provision for every attribute to give the data here as an input value. But our expertise from the SNV, we have customized this particular things to provide a default value and some of the derived values such that we have a smooth transaction for material creation. So now you can see there are few data already came in our system here. After we provide the basic data, it is always best practice to go for check. Because the system can prompt and it can avoid human errors and prompt you that something more needed if this particular request has to be created very smooth. Now you can see a warning error we got that we need a description, at least one description, because the identification of master data is required with the description. Again, coming to the standards of SAP, SAP provides you an input field here, but depending upon the requirement from the business and respecting the requirements of the customers, SLV has provided some derivation logics, which is a totally customization done from the SLV side to generate a smart description. For example, if I can show you here, on the classification side, we are providing the class data. Let me select one of the class. I will be taking as a motor here. Next is a subclass. Let me take here timing. Depending on this particular combination, system checks your request and verifies with the database in the backend on the SAP system side and prompts you that we already have potential duplicates in your system. Are you ready with your going with your request, or you want to switch to your duplicates which is already there in the system? So it is a user choice. He can always select the request which is already there, the data which is already there in the SAP system, and switch to duplicate. If he finds that this particular data is already correct and it is already in place in our system. If not, he can always go with your change request, which is at present request. Now, in our case also, I want to go with our continuity. I'm clicking on continue. This particular intelligence, which is coming from the SAP system, is totally depending upon the parameters what you define on your duplicate search criteria. So it is here, it is selecting 6 fields, which we have given as input criteria. It is searching on the combination of these 6 fields. Now just click on continue such that we will be going with our request. Now you can see you got a smart generation of your description. Further, on the description side, I can extend this one by providing my attribute values, because it is only class and subclass we have given. There is every possibility that we may have so many duplicates in the system. So now I'm giving, to streamline more, I'm giving the values of 1 or 2 attributes. So the system again performs a check on the data which we have given. You can go for check. Now you can see your smart description has been generated. And here it is an English language. You can always go for your own language also, such that our system is smart enough to run the logics which are defined, and it can generate the description in your language also, as per your choice.
Excellent.
Now I will be going further to provide the minimal details which are required for material creation. One key part is again plant, under which this particular material comes. I'm going for adding of plants here. Let me take SV11 is a plant. It prompts for some of the mandatory fields. So before going check, I can directly give that material the mandatory fields. MRP type. I'm selecting as ND, which is no planning will be done. This is because I want to avoid the further prompts on mandatory fields, because if you give other material types, the planning related fields prompt we will be getting that to fill the data. So to avoid all those things and taking our timelines into consideration, just I have kept as ND, which is no planning. I got one more mandatory field is availability check. Here also I am going with no check, such that the same prompt, avoiding our prompts for mandatory checks. Now I can go for checking the system. You can see no errors found. System prompts it, you can proceed ahead. Now I'm as a requester, I'm going here and submitting the request. Let me quickly show you the presentation here where we are in the request. Now requester having the minimal data which is required for the master data creation, we have submitted from the requester, and now the request now went to reviewer, that is first level of approval. Because at present I have a admin access, so that is the reason the request automatically turned to first level of approval. But I want to show you that how a approver logs into the system. Let me come to the home page. As an approver, when approver logs into the system, this is the home page. So approver can go to the tab which is change request and documents, where he can find workflow inbox. When he clicks on the inbox, it opens to his inbox where every work item which is waiting for his action will be there. In our present request 5595, it is a request waiting for his action. So as a approver 1, that is first level of approver, I'm clicking on the request, which opens to that request in the new page. Requester can validate the data. Now here requester has, sorry for my words, it is a reviewer. Reviewer has 3 options, that is, one is finalizing process, next one is send for revision, and third one is reject. Let me explain you further more here. Finalize process is when the approver reviews the data and feels the data is correct, he can give his first level of approval by clicking finalize processing. Now the second stage is, if suppose he feels that the data is incomplete and further more data has to be given, he can send for revision, such that this particular request again routes back to the requester. Requester can review the data and he can follow the notes which is given by approver and provide the minimal, means the required inputs, and he can resubmit the request. Again, it will be coming back to the approver 1. This is the process of send for revision. The third one is, if suppose that approver already finds that this data is already existing in the data and it is not needed, this particular request is not needed, he can always go for reject, which halts the process such that no further action can be taken on this particular request. When you go for send for revision or reject, system prompts for you that why you are rejecting or sending for revision. It prompts for your note where you had to provide a note. It directly opens this particular thing such that you had to provide the reason why you are performing that particular action. Apart from these 3, he also has an option called edit. Edit is, if suppose this particular request has to be enriched with some of other data which is required for this particular request of master data, approver 1 can directly click on edit and he can provide, instead of waiting for sending the revision for the requester, he can click on edit and he can provide the data, and then he can provide his first level of approval. In our case, now I'm just reviewing the data as approver 1, that is first level of approval, and providing my approve from my side. You can see that particular request has moved. Now let me log in with the approver 2. Again, it's the same process. When approver 2, that is final approver, logs into the system, he can come into his inbox. Because I have a admin access, I can see everything. But in general, in the real-time environment, approver 2 will be logging into the system and into workflow inbox. Let me quickly show you where we are. Now reviewer has submitted and it went to final approver. Here we are. This is the approver 2 inbox. We can see approve change request 5595. I'm clicking on the request so that it can open into the new page. At the second level of approval, he can verify the data and he can provide his approval. Here also two options we have. That is, one is approve, next one is reject. Reject, again, as I told, you can halt the process. Before clicking on approve, I want to highlight the 2 points. That is the status. At present, our status is final check to be performed, and the material data which has to be created. At present, it has a temporary number which is allocated for this particular request, because till the time of you provide the final approve, this data cannot go and sit in SAP system. It has to be identified with one ID, which is a temporary ID. How you will be identifying this particular as a temporary? It will be having a special character, dollar or hash symbol preceding to that particular number, which identifies it is as this one. So let me approve it. Now just I approve it. Now I can show the status has been turned to final check approved, and now data got created in SAP, and this is the SAP ID which got created.
Thanks for that, KN. Thanks for that detailed explanation of the system. But how do we verify the material has been replicated in the SAP system?
Sure, I can show that one too. For that, you have to log into the SAP system, and to get the material number, go for the transaction code MM03, which is meant for displaying of material. Now select your material number which got created as a part of MDG request 4341. Give here, click on enter. It prompts for the what are the views you want to go with. Select all views. It prompts for what is the plant you are going. Our plant which we have selected is SV11. Click on enter. You can see the data which got as a request got created in SAP.
Excellent, excellent. So thanks for verifying the creation in the SAP system. But could you tell us a bit more about the search features of SAP MDG?
Sure, definitely. Going into our agenda and respecting our timings, I want to give a few insights on search criteria. SAP MDG has extensive functionalities related to search criteria. So at present, I can show the search criteria for materials. In the part of search, SAP has different supporting engines. For example, the database engine, which is a base engine, which actually do a simple search on the database and it can retrieve back. But to have an enhancement in your functionalities, to have further features in the functionalities, you can always go with the different search support engines what we have in market, which is supporting SAP. That is enterprise search. Next one is T-Rex search, and third one is HANA database search. So at present, our system, we have enterprise search, which is already been implemented here. I will be going further showing you how the search will be working. Now, take our example, which we have created just now. Go for material number 4341 and go for search here, which result into the record. You can see this particular material, it has been retrieved and projected on your screen. I want to give more insights here. There is every possibility that a user cannot remember a length of 7 or 10 material number always. So he can always go for a description search because it will be very familiar for him. So he will be going for the description. And by mistakenly, he has given some description with a wrong spelling. He go for search. It will not result anything because it is doing exact match. We have a feasibility called Fuzzy search. Click on this Fuzzy search and go for search. Now systems checks the database and brings all the relevant fields, relevant records which are near to this particular description you have given. You can see there are several materials we got in this picture, but our material is 4341. So this is the one it has been created. Did I answer the question, Mr. Hindi?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that, KM. Thank you. So this brings me to my last question. Does SAP MDG have any mass transactions?
Yes, SAP MDG is a very flexible tool. It has support of mass data creation and mass data change.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for that, Ken. Thanks for that system demo. So that brings us to the end of the demo, ladies and gentlemen. We will open the floor for any questions, and those can be answered by our experts here. So we have a question. Ken, you showed material images during your demo. Does that come with SAP MDG out of the box, or is that an enhancement SNV has done on their own?
Pardon, can you repeat your question, please?
So you showed us a few material images, but does that come with SAP MDG, or is that a separate enhancement?
No, it is a customization as per business requirement. SNV has enhanced them.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for that, Ken.
So Hemdeep, I would like to add what Kane just said, that that is the benefit of working with SNV, and we would like to stress upon this particular point because SNV uses all its domain into the data services that they have utilized for last 12 years, and based on that we have come across so many customers, and based on their requirements we have enhanced our system to such a level that we understand customer requirements before they even start stating it, and
Excellent.
These are certain features that we have incorporated in the on top of the current SAP MDG or standard offerings of SAP MDG based on your experience, and that is the benefit and the beauty of working with SMB.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for that, Avinash. I hope that answers the question from the audience. Any other questions? Please use the Q&A box to post any questions that you might have so we can answer them live. Right. We have another question about the duplicate check in MDG. Is that a fuzzy search, Avinash KN?
So Ken, would you like to take that?
Yes, it is not fuzzy set, it is exact match.
Right. So the duplicate check in MDG is an exact match.
Just to elaborate a little more on the duplicate check, so this is a function that can be definitely developed or can be made aligned to customer requirements. So when we have a requirement gathering session during any project implementation, we request customer to define their duplicate check criteria. Whatever SAP offers as standard, that is definitely available in the system, but sometimes customer end up having certain additional requirements that we want our material duplicate check to also work on this additional parameters, and this is something that is pretty much customizable and can be done as an implementation as part of the implementation when we do it.
Right. Thanks for that, Avinash. So we have another question. Does MDG require HANA as the backend?
So the answer to that would be it's not a mandate, but yeah, it is best suited, and the latest release of MDG works in tandem best with HANA. Okay, HANA, it can leverage the latest functionality and the benefits that SAP has brought in terms of HANA. However, if certain customers do not have HANA as a backend or as a database, SAP MDG still suits them and it can work on top of that.
Right. Thanks for that, Avinash. Any other questions? So we have another question. So this is from Tomas. Do we have any knowledge about the costs of MDG licensing? Can someone shed some light on this question? Avinash can.
So on SAP MDG licensing, definitely these details on rather than answering them on an open forum, if this particular question, if we can revert back to you based on your specific query, we would like to take it up offline. But yes, the answer to that question is yes. Definitely, there is MDG licensing and the costing about that, and how it is calculated and how it is being charged to the customer. All those details are pretty much available and can be shared via an email post this
Excellent.
session, if that is
Excellent.
okay.
Thanks, Avinash. Any other questions which the audience would like to pose to the SMB team? Right. So I think the audience has the questions answered for this session. If there are any other questions which crop up later, you can always reach out to us via our email ID, and we'd be happy to take that conversation offline. So over to you, Jacek, as we are done with our presentation and system demo.
Tak, bardzo dziękuję Państwu za dedykowanie czasu na to spotkanie oraz Państwa obecność. Taka jeszcze informacja na koniec, bo wspominałem wcześniej, że to wystąpienie jest jednym z cyklu Poznaj przyszłość zarządzania danymi. W najbliższych tygodniach planujemy organizację kolejnych spotkań, podczas których będziemy zgłębiali tematykę zarządzania danymi we wsparciu technologii SAP. Informacje o tych wydarzeniach będziemy publikowali na naszej stronie oraz w mediach społecznościowych, także prosimy również o obserwowanie. Jakiekolwiek pytania, które pojawiają się w Państwa głowach, to oczywiście prosimy kierować na te adresy, które Państwo widzicie, także będziemy na nie regularnie odpowiadać. I jeszcze jedna kwestia, też w drugiej połowie czerwca planujemy zorganizować ponownie sesję w temacie zarządzania danymi podstawowymi. No i tą sesję chcielibyśmy również przygotować już bardziej słuchając też Państwa głosów, także jakiekolwiek sugestie, co Państwa powiedzmy zainteresowało i co powinno być zgłębione, prosimy również do nas wysyłać. Także raz jeszcze dziękuję i do usłyszenia. Miłego dnia.